by you. Hello, everybody. Thanks for checking in. Today, I'll be talking about being thankful. As I continue with the story of my journey from Jericho to Hollywood, I am thankful, first of all, to God for being merciful to me even when I didn't deserve His love and mercy. When I was 13 years old, my father moved me from Jericho Primary School in Nairobi to Gato Simbo Primary School in the countryside. At that young age, I was already getting caught up with youth gang activities. So he was afraid I was not going to pass my certificate of primary education, also known as CPE. The city was a bad influence on me. My mom took me to the railway station to board the train to Kisumu. There were no rules on boarding the Kisumu train. When they opened the doors, it was a mad dash to get inside and find a seat. Only the strong and mighty got seats. At 13, I was a scrawny little guy, but very strong. So when the doors opened, I was there with 100 adults fighting through the small door to board that train. And in the process, the boiled eggs in my backpack got mushed. Needless to say, I managed to get a seat, despite the odds of not getting one at all. I was bruised and battered, but hey, I made it to the window seat to the joy of my mother standing outside waiting anxiously. Those who couldn't get seats crowded the aisles, and many were hanging out the doors of the train as it made its way to Kisumu, and I waved my goodbyes to my mother. Halfway into the journey, 4 nuns boarded the train. 2 sat next to me, and the other 2 sat opposite me. Many people had already alighted in various train stops, so there were empty seats for new passengers. Soon I got hungry and I pulled out my squished boiled eggs and chapati meal to eat. The nuns saw my flattened eggs and they asked me what happened. Without batting an eyelid, I told them a cock and bull story about how I was chased by gangsters who hated my family and I narrowly escaped death from them. The nuns felt sorry for me and they chorused their sympathies. The story got so real for me. It was a lie, but it got so real for me that I even started crying as I told it. The nuns began to cry with me as they prayed for me and admonished all my make-believe attackers. Whenever I think about that moment, is when I realized that I was born to be a writer. I surely had a crazy but very creative mind. But lying to those nuns has been one of the biggest regrets of my life. I am thankful to those nuns for taking care of me in the way they did, although I was not truthful to them. When I got older, I drew from the empathy and sympathy of those 4 nuns, and I've always treated strangers and friends with love and compassion. Although I lied to them, their compassion taught me a side of God that I would soon embrace and put into practice throughout my life. I will forever be thankful to those nuns who loved and cared for me as I gave them only deceit in return. I contracted malaria at Gato Simbo and almost died from the experience. I spent 28 days in a ward in Kisumu Russia Hospital, but God spared me. I honestly believe I survived because of the prayers of those nuns. Needless to say, I passed my CPE exam with a decent grade, and my father brought me back to the city to attend Jericho Secondary School. After graduating from high school, my father got me a job at BAT Kenya Limited, where he was also working. I worked in the wages department for 3 years, and then transferred to the computer department for the next 4 years. BAT was a great employer, and I made good money due to overtime work and weekend work. One day, a fellow church youth member, whom I will just call SE, got saved. He gave his life to the Lord, and that did not sit well with his father. So he ostracized him and refused to pay his last year in secondary school. I was so touched by this, so I paid his fees and he was able to finish school. Because I paid his fees, I couldn't take the bus anymore. So for 3 months, I walked to work from Jericho to BAT, a good 4 to 5 mile distance, probably more. I met SE in Kenya 40 years later when I went back to visit. He is now married with grown children and doing well. We kind of talked about what I did for him. He brought it up, but I never mentioned that I walked to work for 3 months because of it. I am thankful to SE's father because without him realizing it, he opened the beginning of doors of blessings for me. Because of his actions against his son, God touched my heart to bless the son, an act that God remembered and used other people in return to be a blessing in my life too. I truly believe that it was God who orchestrated things on that day when I was crying on the steps of that high-rise building. I was hopelessly lost and heartbroken. My dreams of going to America were rudely shattered. I truly believe that God remembered the small act that I had done for one of his own. I never thought much of the SC situation, but God did. Miracle upon miracle happened for me in a span of 5 minutes. My sister-in-law, Eva, shows up from nowhere, and the answers that I sought for my American dream were fulfilled. How is that possible? God remembered. I'm here to really say that I'm thankful for all the people who have touched me in a positive way. There were tears sometimes, but nevertheless, your coming to my life was part of my journey and growth in the things of life. So I say thank you to SE's dad. His act was the genesis of all the blessings that followed me later in life. Thank you to Eva and her friend who made it possible for my apparently broken dream to mend and take on legs again. I'm thankful to the members of my track team at Cal State Stanislaus who became my family away from home when I didn't know a soul in America. Susan, Julie, Phil, Melina, Robert, Carl, Donnell, and the amazing Coach Kim. I'm also thankful to my wife Elizabeth, who stood with me even when things didn't go right and the best decision would have been to run. I'm also thankful to the members of our band, PFO, Don, Brian, and Bobby, and also the very first drummer, Evan, who embraced me when I came to Hollywood and gave me a reason to believe again. Even those I didn't mention by name, thank you for impacting my life and making it worth the journey. Last and not least, I say thank you to God for remembering me even when I felt I didn't deserve to be blessed. Thanks to you too who's watching this episode. Without you, I wouldn't have anybody to share my story with on this platform. I'll see you again on the next episode of May I Inspire You. God bless. May I inspire you.